one day I'm grow up and change the world. I want people to remember me for what I stood for, not for the horrible things that I had to say. One day, I'll be a politician.
A little girl with a vision, now inspiring a nation.
I want our democracy to be as good as Christina imagined it. I want America to be as good as she imagined it.
And thanks for joining us for a conversation dedicated to honoring a little girl with a vision. I'm Lynn Sue Cooney. We lost 6 people on January 8, 2011, when a gunman opened fire during a political event. Tonight, we are focusing on the youngest victim, Christina Taylor Greene, who was at that event to meet Arizona Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. Christina Taylor was a bright little girl with a passion for politics. And though she was only with us for 9 short years, this girl's young legacy could change the world. And I'm joined tonight by a woman who continues to work toward promoting civil discourse, retired U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have lots of youthful exuberance in the room. We're going to be looking to you for wisdom.
This is a very special night, and I'm pleased to be here.
Well,
thank you.
We are very honored to have you.
Thank you.
And as I mentioned, you can see these 12 bright, motivated students from around Arizona. Each was handpicked after submitting essays with their solutions and commitment to change. And tonight's conversation is presented by 12 News and the Arizona Republic. We are here to discuss one very important issue inspired by Christina Taylor. Our political debate in America is too often filled with anger and disrespect. How can this generation solve this problem? Now, Justice O'Connor is a shining example of civil discourse and respectful discussion. Let's take a moment to highlight her remarkable career. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, born in El Paso, Texas, and raised on a ranch in Arizona, had a political pulse from the very beginning. As a Stanford Law graduate, she served as the Assistant Attorney General in Arizona from 1965 to 1969, followed by a 5-year term in the Arizona State Senate. That's where she first broke the gender gap, becoming the first woman to serve as State Senate Majority Leader. In 1974, she took on a different challenge, becoming a judge in the Maricopa County Superior Court. In '79, Justice O'Connor was selected to serve on the Arizona Court of Appeals. And just 2 years later, in 1981, President Ronald Reagan appointed Sandra Day O'Connor to the U.S. Supreme Court as the first woman justice. Justice O'Connor heard many tough cases during her 24 years on the bench, but always voted in a way that she believed upheld the U.S. Constitution. Most recently, that philosophy helped her develop iCivics.org, an online project designed to improve civic education in the classroom. Her career has earned her respect and admiration, so much so that a high school in Glendale, the law school at Arizona State University, and the federal courthouse in downtown Phoenix all carry her name. But even with her experience, wisdom, and honors, this remarkable and tough woman says she still thinks it's a little strange that a cowgirl ended up on the nation's highest court. From farm girl to Supreme Court justice.
Ranch girl.
Okay, ranch girl.
Gotta get it right.
Okay, yes, we do want to get that right. To Supreme Court justice.
Yes.
That is just amazing. Is that proof, do you think, to these kids in the room that they can be anything they want to dream?
Well, I think it's one example of the fact that amazing things can happen to you in your life and in your career. It's not always predictable, and it certainly wasn't for me. It took 191 years to get the first woman on the Supreme Court, and I happened to come along at the right time, I guess. So that was an exciting moment to have happen. And I think it opened many doors for women, not only in this country, but around the world. Made a difference.
Well, we know that you are also co-chair of a very important organization in Tucson, the National Institute for Civil Discourse at the University of Arizona, and that center, chaired by Presidents George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, was formed in response to the terrible mass shooting last year. The goal is to create a more respectful atmosphere in our political discussions, and that is exactly what we are talking about tonight. Tell us why that issue is so important to you.
Well, it's important to me because I think that what we have seen in recent years is an escalation in unpleasantness in public discussions. And I just don't think that's how you accomplish things in public life, in a legislative body or a committee meeting or any place else. I think it takes discussion with others that is conducted decently and cooperatively. And you can disagree agreeably about things and reach a result more effectively than yelling and screaming. So that's what we want to have happen across our country.
And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. These 12 students that are here with us tonight, they're between the ages of 13 and 17. They are in grades 8 through 12. And actually, a few of them are going to turn 18 in time to vote in the upcoming presidential election. Each student here tonight submitted an essay about how their generation can bring solutions to the table to create a more respectful atmosphere in political discussions. And we received more than 1,200 student essays. We are truly inspired about what these 12 have to say. They are the brightest and the best. Let's take some time now to give the students a chance to summarize their entries. Mira, your essay talked about collaboration, right?
Yes. So Howard Schultz, he's the CEO of Starbucks, and he said that it's not about partisanship, it's about citizenship. And I wholeheartedly agree. The key to solving any problem is not going to be competition, it's collaboration. And I think politicians, they really need to understand that it's not us versus them, it's us with them. And together we can take a cooperative approach to better the country.
How about you, Becky? What was your essay about the theme?
I believe we tend to draw a line in the sand and say anybody on the other side of that line is automatically our opponent. It turns our reactions into more of a competition, when in reality we should be using ideological differences to develop creative solutions so we can better serve every citizen in the country.
All right, Cecina, you had an interesting perspective.
I wanted to point out that in our country, in America, we are actually lucky that we have people who can disagree openly. And in a democracy, everybody can share their opinion. We're not a totalitarian government where there's always civil discourse, but there's no real opinion sharing going on. But we also need to understand that everybody, Republican, Democrat, there's a bigger race going on than a race for candidacy or a race for an election. It's a race to improve our country, and it should be about improving the whole country, not just furthering the goals of your party.
Looking at the bigger picture. All right, Thor, what about you?
Politics can happen anywhere, not just on the television screen, and I believe that is very important for everybody to make sure that they're listening to what the person is saying instead of just trying to get your own word out, because sometimes if you do listen to your opponents, you can learn from what they have to say.
All right, very good. We can always learn from our opponents. And, you know, 2 of the students submitted videos for us, not written essays. So let's roll Peyton Galovich's video right now, and then we'll hear from her.
One day I'm gonna grow up and change the world. I want people to remember me for what I stood for, not for the horrible things that I had to say.
One day, I'll be a politician. I'll remind people what to believe in,
instead of lies about my competitors. I've changed the way everyone's elected. I've set a trend.
Candidates understand what it means to stand for different beliefs. I've changed the world. Now it's your turn to keep it that way.
One day I'm gonna grow up and change the world.
Grow up and change the world. So Peyton, were you saying that a child has the potential to change the world, one person? Is that what you were trying to convey?
Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say. I really wanted to portray that no matter what age you are, you can always have an impact on the world, and you know, you're always learning from your peers and from the adults in your life, and we want to set the best example for me and for all my peers and those younger than me. And the best way to do that is to have a stable government that agrees.
Yeah, and you can never start too young. You're right about that.
Exactly.
All right, Matthew, how about your theme?
Well, I based my essay off the quote from Abraham Lincoln, stating that a house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe as a government, we need to stop focusing on our differences and start working together to accomplish a goal.
Very good. Aren't you impressed with the...
Very impressed. Yes, you all are presenting some very good thoughts.
They all get A's. Okay, well, we're going to hear from the rest of the students in just a moment. Right now, let's get back to Christina Taylor Green, the little girl who inspired this whole conversation. She was curious about how the political world works, and now we strive to build a world that she would be proud of. And that's something President Obama emphasized when he visited Tucson just days after the tragedy in 2011.
I want to live up to her expectations.
I want our democracy to be as good as Christina imagined it. I want America to be as good as she imagined it. All of us, we should do everything we can do to make sure this country lives up to our children's expectations.
Christina Taylor had great expectations for her country, a country she loved very much, and her family knew it. Mark Curtis explains.
Christina Taylor's dreams weren't just a vision, it was a part of her everyday life. She volunteered in a soup kitchen and helped food drives to feed children, and even had aspirations of one day being a professional ball player. At 9 years old, she lived more life than many of us. Christina Taylor's parents want their daughter's legacy to inspire others. John Green walks the linear park named for his daughter, whose own timeline ended after just 9 years. Christina was participating in her civic duty on that fateful day, letting her congresswoman hear the concerns of even her youngest constituents.
We talked to her about, if you don't like what's going on, you got to get involved.
And Christina was. She was on her student council, a volunteer for everything, but mostly a good friend. She took a classmate under her wing when she noticed that he was being ignored and bullied.
I helped him get accepted with the other kids. Just tried to, didn't make a big issue of it, but just started talking to him, and kind of introduced him around to the other kids. And the next thing you know, he had lots of friends. And his mom said, "I'm so grateful that Christina did that."
John and his wife Roxana didn't even hear the story until their daughter had died. It was a time, John says, when they were looking for any kind of light and a dark ending to their daughter's short life.
I don't know all the dynamics of third and fourth grade, but I know she was navigating them, and trying to make sure everybody got along.
Christina was making a difference. She was someone her parents could be proud of.
She was only 9, but again, I look around at the impact that she's had, and I'm truly amazed.
Now Roxana and John have these family pictures, this beautiful park, but not their daughter.
It's really difficult still to hear Christina's name and not see her there. But all these projects that we're involved with and that other kids are involved with and other people, it makes us feel good. Her spirit's there.
Her spirit was so amazing, and with a child like that, it's like we all lost someone, because she was someone who wanted to make the world better for all of us, every single one of us. And Justice, I'm sure that you grieve for her as well. She was such a bright light to be.
She was a wonderful little girl and was already participating in school and wanted to make things better and knew how to do it. She was a real inspiration.
And now let's hear from the rest of our students about their essays and their motivation for creating more respectful discussion. Becky, what was the theme of your essay?
The main theme of my essay was that in politics these days, what I've noticed anyway, is that they don't really focus on facts as much as trying to be right all the time and trying to prove their point, and that's honestly not what it's about. What it's about, in my opinion, and I'm sure the opinions of a lot of people, is about reaching a compromise and bettering our country. And lately that hasn't been occurring, and I think that is what needs to change.
All right, thank you. Tony.
Similar to what she said, the most important point that I conveyed in my essay was the idea of a win-win scenario. Politicians are too often focused on slandering their others so they can make themselves look higher than them. But what's really the most important is for politicians to focus on their own strong points so they can benefit society if they eventually do get elected.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Vanessa, what about your essay?
I think my essay was about how humans have so many similarities and differences, and we often disrespect our differences, but we should take advantage of them, but also realize the sameness, because we all want the same thing in the end, which is happiness.
Now, Rikia also submitted a video. Let's take a look at that.
We call ourselves Americans, but what does that mean? Does it mean we are people of great honor? People who live in the land of opportunity? We like to say that we are people who will win the right way. But why is it that when political candidates want to win, they downgrade the image of their competitor? This is teaching the kids of our generation that the only way to win is to dehumanize their opponent. It is our job to teach these younger citizens the meaning of winning and losing with dignity. Let's teach these future leaders the real American way.
So, Rakia, you want Americans to be better losers and better winners.
If political candidates continue to use political rancor towards each other, it's also going to go down to our schools and sports, and it's going to teach our younger citizens that the only way to win, like I said in the video, is to dehumanize our opponent.
Kelly, how about your essay?
My essay was mainly about an example we did in the class on Socratic seminars, but it was also about how the most important thing in debating is listening to one another.
Let's go from Caroline. Tell us what your essay is about. You're the last one.
In my essay, I really wanted to focus on a specific way to find a solution. So what I decided to use was the resource of the internet because it connects us in such an amazing way. So I created a website where young people can go to educate themselves about political issues, so they'll be more inclined to talk about actual issues instead of gossiping about candidates. And I called it SOAP, which is Students Opposed to Angry Politics. And
and it also keeps it clean, right?
Yep.
That's cute.
And it'll also act as kind of a united front against that kind of politics. That way we can really show that it's not okay and it's not something that we're going to accept anymore.
We don't like dirty politics.
Are you still keeping the website open?
I actually haven't created it yet. I created it for the essay, and I'd really like to go forward and actually make it reality.
But you haven't created it yet. Well, you'll have to do it and see what happens. Maybe you could do that on Facebook or something. I don't know.
And then we'll be sure to tweet it out so everyone knows about it. Well, Justice, what do you think? Do you think they're on the right track?
They are for sure on the right track. It's an impressive group of young people with good ideas. I totally agree that in our discussions in political life, we have to get over anger and work together to reach solutions. We have to do that, and we can. We just need to, I think, to hear from citizens that that's what they want and expect will help people to improve their behavior in political life. I hope so. We need it.
And our conversation is just getting started. Up next, our students have questions for Justice O'Connor, and we honor the legacy of Judge John Roll, who also lost his life during the Tucson tragedy.
He was a federal judge, as you know, and a very fine judge, and he was chief judge of the district court here at the time that he lost his life, and we miss him terribly. He had done a great job. I did, and thought very highly of him.
Plus, our students have questions for Justice O'Connor.
How did, if at all, public opinion affect your decisions as a Supreme Court justice?
Now, a quick introduction from some of our essay winners.
My name's Caroline Kinsley, and I'm a junior at Tempe Prep Academy.
My name is Tony Fabiano, and I'm a senior in the IB program at Desert Mountain High School.
Hi, I'm Peyton Galovich, and I'm a senior at Raymond S. Callis High School.
As we continue our conversation on creating more civil discourse, we also want to honor Judge John Roll. He too was killed in the Tucson mass shooting on January 8, 2011. Judges are among the most civil and respectful people in our government. Here's Mark Curtis with how Judge Roll is being remembered and honored.
Lynn Sue, Judge Roll was truly a man of character. When you ask Judge Roll's colleagues about him, you get a smile, some kind words, and a lot of admiration.
Judge Roll was just a pillar of the legal community, both in Tucson and actually on a national level.
He was a good guy. He was a kind and generous person.
Federal judges Cindy Jorgensen and Rosalind Silver worked closely with Judge Roll.
He would shake your hand and, almost break your hand sincerely when he met you. Everyone in our courthouse, 500 of them, really cared for him, liked him, and some of them loved him.
Judge Roll happened to stop by Congresswoman Gabby Gifford's event that Saturday morning last January to thank her.
This period of time, the last few years, we just had an explosion of cases.
Judge Roll had been working with Giffords to help ease the federal caseload by adding more judges and also building a new courthouse. And his hard work paid off. The courthouse is now under construction, and fittingly, it'll be named in his honor.
We are still recovering from it, but you stay calm and carry on, which we did. We had an obligation to ensure that there was justice for all people.
Missed, but not forgotten.
Judge Roll leaves behind a rich legacy, and it's such a tragedy to lose such a great man.
It is. He's missed very much. Very much. He was on the federal district court here, and we had no direct contact except at occasions where we could meet together, which we did on a number of occasions. And I was keenly aware of all the work he did on the district court.
Yeah, a great loss for all of us. Let's talk now about debate and differing opinions. Our students have come up with some questions for you, Justice O'Connor.
All right, they better get at it.
Yeah, they're very interested in hearing what you have to say. Let's start with you, Thor.
Justice O'Connor, have you found yourself in a situation where when you're trying to speak, people don't really care about what you're trying to say, they worry more about what they're trying to say?
Yes, that happens, and I think particularly in political life, it can happen. When I was in the Arizona State Senate, for instance, and you might be listening to someone in the legislative body with you who wants to make a point and who's not at all interested in anything in opposition, and they don't really want to listen to any opposing statement. It can happen, and it's happened to me. But you just have to go ahead and make your own presentation as best you can and hope that enough people do listen and understand that at the end of the day you can get the necessary votes. But it can happen.
Becky, what about you?
Justice O'Connor, how did, if at all, public opinion affect your decisions as a Supreme Court justice?
I really don't think public opinion should or does affect a Supreme Court justice's decision in a particular case. I mean, justices, like other people, can read the newspaper and can see the news, but they do not decide cases on that basis. You have a whole record of the facts to look at, and you have years and years of former cases dealing with the principle of law that's involved, and what you're trying to do is decide an issue of law, definitely not being affected by public opinion. And I think the justices make a real effort to make sure that happens.
Caroline, what's your question?
Justice O'Connor, in your experience dealing with civil discourse, how did you try to keep disrespect out of conversations?
Well, you just do it. You watch what you say. That's how you do it, so that you don't fall into the trap of saying things you shouldn't be saying, that are hasty remarks or remarks that are unnecessarily cutting or mean. Don't do it.
Your turn, Mira.
Justice O'Connor, how did you approach conflict in the Supreme Court, and would that method of approaching conflict work in Congress?
Well, in the Supreme Court, we do most of our work in writing. We write opinions. And so you have time to craft your words with more care. And you don't tend to write biting, nasty comments. You could, but it's seldom done at the court level. And I think when you're on the floor of a legislative body and action is pretty fast and people are all getting up and saying something on the spur of the moment, perhaps it's harder for them to curb their words a little bit. It's harder to prepare them in a thoughtful way when you're off the cuff, so to speak. But we should be mindful at all times that we're going to gain more in the long run by being respectful than being nasty.
Mm-hmm. One more question. Kelly.
Justice O'Connor, how should a civil debate start?
How should a civil debate start?
Well, I think by something like this. Mr. Jones, or Senator Jones, I understand your point, I think, but my concern is something else. My concern is thus and so. I mean, you can start it any way you like, but you can at least begin on a civil note, can't you? And that's the thing to do.
Very good questions. Thanks to all of you.
As our conversation continues, we transform our students' essays to find the common themes and create one group essay with all of our finalists. That plus encouraging words from Justice O'Connor.
How confident are you that this younger generation can change things?
I'm willing to turn it over to them, are you?
Yes, I really am.
Now meet our youngest essay winners.
I'm Vanessa Levy, and I'm an 8th grader at Arizona School for the Arts.
My name is Thora Iceland, and I'm a freshman at Arizona School for the Arts.
I'm Kelly Flores, and I'm an 8th grader at Humber Traditional School.
Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we are honoring a little girl who had dreams of making a difference. The 12 students here tonight all wrote an essay or submitted a video essay answering this question. Our political debate in America is too often filled with anger and disrespect. How can your generation solve this problem? Well, in reading their essays, we identified several common themes. Having an open mind, respecting your fellow man, and practicing honesty always. Debating issues based on facts and addressing real problems. And compromising by working together to find a solution for the greater good of the nation. Now, these are the basics: respect, compromise, and honesty. Justice, why are those so hard to put into practice?
They shouldn't be. And why it is that sometimes in legislative bodies or committee meetings, people just let their tempers get the better of them, I think, and get carried away and say things they shouldn't be saying.
And yet you have all of these students here. No doubt their parents have taught them to be considerate and to listen to other people's points of view. What is it about politics that once you get to be an adult, you forget everything you learned growing up, and all of a sudden ego takes over and self-interest, and you...
It's hard to explain, and I can't. I mean, we know better, don't we? Mm-hmm. You know better, and we all should. And I know that we can do better. If the public in this nation expresses itself as you have done and agrees with you, I think we'll see less nastiness among our public officials. And I certainly hope so. I think we should ask that of our public servants, our elected officials.
We should demand it, possibly. Well, we also turned our students' essays into a word cloud. Take a look. You can see some of the main themes jumping out at us. Respect, political, you can see generation in there. All of our...
I see listen.
Yes.
I like that. I like listening.
All of our students' essays are so well written that we have put them online at aztalk.azcentral.com. But just to give you an idea of the themes and solutions that they discussed, we combined parts of their essays into one great big group essay that was read by the students themselves. Take a listen.
Whenever I've watched political debates, it seems no one truly listens to the other's point of views. When they do seem to listen to each other, they only respond in a way to defend their own point of view.
The world of politics is always fraught with egos and personal agendas, and when egos get involved, things can quickly go from bad to worse. But if we strive to foster a win-win scenario, then we can begin to make things a bit more civil and beneficial to the American people.
To minimize disrespect in politics, we cannot dismiss others or their ideas simply because they stand on the other side of the fence. Rather, their thoughts must be heard and respected as viable alternatives to ours.
I believe that the current generation can change how modern political debates are run. We must be willing at all times to accept the fact that sometimes we are wrong.
The key for our generation to stop disrespecting one another is remembering that everyone fights for something. Everyone has a motivation and objective. If we remember that, I believe that we can fight disrespect.
As the next generation, we need to focus less on our differences, set aside our personal issues and agendas, focus on our commonalities, and address the issues that are plaguing this nation.
The key to solving any problem is collaboration, not competition. Although we have a variety of viewpoints across the United States, politicians and citizens need to realize that the goal of politics, the goal of government, is to create a better America.
One of the most amazing things about our generation is the fact that we are incredibly connected. It takes us no time at all to communicate with each other and raise awareness about a cause. This is a wonderful asset, and we should use it to benefit society.
Our generation owes it to America to break the cycle of negativity and get back to constructive criticism.
By encouraging and educating peers on respectful nature and factual detail, it becomes possible to eliminate ignorance and promote a sense of basic human morality that our race owes to one another.
Our generation has set a trend. We understand what it means to stand for different beliefs, and now it's your turn to keep it that way.
Wow. Individually, those essays are powerful, but when you put them all together, you can see what they're really talking about is change. How confident are you that this younger generation can change things?
I'm willing to turn it over to them. Are you?
Yes, I really am. They are very bright. They have a lot of insight.
They're great.
Pretty impressive.
Yes.
Well, a major part of tonight's conversation is devoted to finding solutions to the anger and disrespect that we so often see in political debates. We'll dive right into that just ahead. Plus, we hear from one of Congresswoman Gifford's staffers who survived the shooting last January and who explains why this topic is so close to him.
If kids can learn civility and respect and understanding for one another, they will take that into adulthood. I don't think you develop uncivil or incivil adults just because they're adults. I think it happens much earlier on.
Plus, Justice O'Connor has questions for the next generation and some words of wisdom.
One of the things they have to learn in law school is how to disagree agreeably. And you can learn to do that. And that's what we all must do. And we hope some of the politicians can learn it along the way too.
First, meet more of our talented winners.
My name is Vakia Bain, and I'm a junior at Raymond S. Kellis High School.
My name is Becky Brisley, and I'm a junior at Marana High School.
My name is Cecina Babic-Morrow, and I'm a sophomore at Scottsdale Prep.
I think Christina Taylor Greene is a wonderful role model. You know, she was a young girl, 9 years old, just the same age as my grandson, when she was shot and killed. She really believed in her community. She believed that you should be involved, even at that young age, in civic activities. And I think everyone has a responsibility to do that.
Well, that was Ron Barber, a member of Congresswoman Gabrielle Gifford's staff in Tucson. Ron Barber was also shot that tragic day last January. After a long recovery, he is back working for Giffords, a woman that he says sets an example that everyone in politics should follow. Justice O'Connor, tell us a little bit about your thoughts on being an example for your peers.
I didn't think of myself as setting an example. But I think we have a problem in our country today with civil discourse. That's what your essays were about, and that's what we've been talking about today. And we are seeing more occasions when people who are in legislative bodies or maybe committee meetings of some kind or in some city council group or whatever it is, are getting a little angrier than is appropriate for the circumstances, and as a result are having a harder time reaching a consensus. And I think we've all seen it. Each one of you have, as you've reflected in your essays. Tony, are you a member of any group setting? Are you on a council in your school or in any kind of a group that you serve in?
I'm in no formal club or debate team or anything like that, but I'm a member of the IB program at my high school in Desert Mountain, and we often talk about politics all around the world, and we engage in very civil discussions where each side has the opportunity to give their opinion while the other side listens, takes that into account, and then counters that opinion. So
that's good. Have you had occasions where you yourself were a little irritated and were tempted to say something a little stronger and didn't, or has that happened to you yet?
Oh, that's absolutely happened. We're a fiery bunch, and there are some classmates of mine that I don't particularly agree with, but I definitely take their opinions into account.
Yes. Well, that's what we have to do, and restrain ourselves occasionally. Now, Becky, are you in an elected group in your school for anything? Are you on a committee or a school group where you work with others?
Actually, I am president of our journalism club, and we have debates sometimes, and it does get a little crazy. And
has it gotten a little sticky sometimes?
Oh yeah,
on issues?
Yeah, we've had some pretty...
And how do you feel you can handle it when that happens? What do you find works effectively?
To be honest, sometimes I have gotten angry too, and a lot of my other classmates have gotten angry, but it really does work. Like in situations where we have listened to each other, we can pretty much have a really good debate and learn different things about what our topic is.
Better than when you express your anger.
Yeah, very much so.
Yes, so you've learned firsthand.
Yes.
And what about you, Kelly? Have you had experiences in any group setting in which you are as a student or otherwise?
No, but when I used to be in math tutoring,
Yes.
I would get an answer and my other partner would get a different answer, and we would like kind of debate over who's right and who's not.
Did you ever get pretty nasty about the discussion?
Yeah, I pretty much like being right, so I like...
That's the problem, right there.
Yes.
I like being right.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do, don't we?
Yeah.
So how do you think you can best restrain that desire to be right? I mean, can't you be right but say, I think I'm right, but I understand your argument and you're certainly entitled to make it, right?
Yeah, I would listen to what they have to say, then I would look over my work and check if I had anything wrong.
Yeah. Caroline, have you had any personal experiences that you can share with us, debating with some other student or friend, and tell us how you've handled it?
For me, my entire curriculum is based off of the Socratic method. So we have discussions in every class, and every class is trying to work together to get to a solution. And it's really been a huge benefit because it's given me a lot of experience of sometimes biting my tongue when I think somebody's wrong and listening to them and trying to understand what they're doing, because if I just ignore what they're saying, we're not going to get anywhere as a group. And for the benefit of the class, sometimes people have to accept that they're wrong.
Yes. Well, you've had particular experience that demonstrates what we're talking about, haven't you?
Definitely.
Okay. Any other good advice before we move on?
Definitely just think before you answer, because a lot of times somebody can accidentally step on your toes, and even if it's something that they're not trying to do, people get offended very easily. And trust me, I have the temper to go along with my hair, but it's important to bite your tongue sometimes before you answer and think of whether or not your comment will benefit the discussion and move the class or group in a positive direction.
Well spoken. I hope lots of people had the benefit of hearing you tonight. Mira, now what experience have you had along these lines?
Well, I'm president of my environmental club, and we had an interesting problem last year. We had a school garden, and we couldn't decide the dimensions for the garden. And the advisor of our club is a math teacher, so it got even more complicated with the area problems and who wants perimeter, what vegetables. Yes. But we ended up finding a compromise in between the two plots that we both wanted. And the plants are growing now, so it's all going well.
And they're growing?
Yes.
Oh. So that's good. All right, that speaks well. Now, Vanessa, have you had some experience along the way that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think whenever anybody has discussions, there's always disagreement.
Yes.
But at least in 8th grade right now, our teachers are encouraging us to just say what's on our mind so people know what we're thinking and not just the final product, because people should know why you think the way you do, not just what you think.
Well, that's right. I think it's very important that we explain our theory. I mean, you say, well, I think thus and so, but it helps if you explain why you think that. That's part of it, and you hope that you're able to explain it effectively enough that you begin to persuade others to go along. Rakia, now, what do you have to tell us? Have you had some experiences with others that enable you to give us some advice?
Yes. One thing I take seriously around our school is prejudice. And what we do every year at my school is we take about 60 students up to the mountains, and we try to give them an outlook on life about other people, whether it's racial prejudice or gender prejudice. We teach them, not to judge people. And that's something I really take seriously around my school.
Have we heard from Matt? I don't think so. Now, Matt.
Speak up, Matt.
You have to tell us any experience. Were you homeschooled largely?
Yes, I was. But
Did you have a chance to get in big arguments with anybody along the way?
I'm in the Boy Scouts of America, and I
yes.
was the main youth leader in my Boy Scout troop.
Uh-huh.
And I was in front of a adult committee explaining some policies about the Boy Scouts to them, and one adult continued to argue with me about that. And I continued to argue with him.
Yes.
And it did not turn out very well, and it did not go as I had planned. It was very hostile, very angry, very emotional. And after I walked away from that conversation, I realized I act like the politicians in Washington, D.C.
So there you had an example
Yes.
in your own life of what can happen.
Yes, and I learned a lot from that experience.
Okay, tell us what you learned.
I learned that no matter what circumstance, a discussion does not need to include hostile anger.
Exactly. That's the point. Even though you feel strongly about it, it doesn't have to get angry and hostile, does it?
It does not.
But it's so hard sometimes not to when you care and you're talking and you think the other side is being kind of mean. You're tempted to say something mean back, aren't you?
Yes, I was.
Now, who hasn't had a chance to tell me something yet? Yes. Okay. What experience have you had? This is Becky.
I have a really great, amazing group of friends at school, but we all have very strong opinions about some things. And I think, like Vanessa mentioned, when we used to talk, we would just say our point and not explain why. And especially I remember several instances as freshmen where we would get into big debates and we'd give our opinion, but not necessarily expound upon that. But as we've grown up, and I'm a senior now, and we can have conversations where they present their side and I present my side, and we disagree, but we agree to disagree because we both have educated opinions.
Exactly. Now, Peyton, what have your experiences been that you can share with us?
Freshman year, I took a class called Exploring Communications, and it was basically a debate class. And all of us were extremely spirited about all of our beliefs, and we would go on a million discussions about God or animal rights, and we would walk into the room happy, and we would sit down and we would discuss these topics. And while they were heated topics, they weren't angry, and we'd leave making lunch dates and walking each other to class, and it was a growing experience for me.
How were you able to do that? Did you make a decision ahead of time that you were going to be nice about it, or
yes,
what?
We all really enjoyed debating and learning each other's different beliefs and just being able to expand your own views and what is out there. And our teacher had always said, you know, if you cross the line, then we're not having this anymore, and we'll sit down and write papers for the rest of the year.
Well,
and so
now, that was
there
a
you
good
go.
incentive. That's a good incentive. And when I visit law schools, I try to say to the law students that one of the things they have to learn in law school is how to disagree agreeably. And you can learn to do that. And that's what we all must do. And we hope some of the politicians can learn it along the way too. Oh, Cecina. Now, tell us your experience. Give us some words of wisdom.
Well,
We're ready.
At my school, every day we have this class called Humane Letters where we look at great literature and also history, and we discuss it, and it's founded on the seminar discussion. We have ground rules laid out about being respectful, and you have to wait till the other person speaks and all that. But I'd say probably the most important thing, we talked about giving your reasoning for how you got to that as providing your evidence. Because if you've thought about this a lot and you come up with your opinion and it's just directly opposite to someone else's opinion, then it comes down to who can scream their opinion loudest. And
Right,
that's
so
not
you have to give your reasons, don't you? And that helps a lot. And if you have time to do that, you can avoid some of the rancor because you've been able to explain why you think what you think.
Well, the ultimate goal of this town hall is to come up with solutions to ending the negative tone. that is so often seen in politics, and negativity that Christina Taylor wanted to stop. Coming up, these students and Justice O'Connor will share their commitments to keeping political conversations and debate civil.
Yes, it's the politicians who are the ones being bitter, but we're the ones fueling that by voting for them.
Everyone believes what they do for a reason and their experiences, and there's no reason that we should disrespect that.
I'd like to take a lot of these ideas right back into my own high school.
I'm very encouraged. How about you?
Now here's more from our future leaders.
I'm Becky Mozillo, and I'm a senior at Pinnacle High School.
My name is Matthew Gilzer. I'm a junior at Guiding Star Academy.
I'm Mira Kumar, and I'm a senior at Horizon Community Learning Center.
Before we go to break, a very special message to our students from President Bill Clinton.
No matter what side of any argument you fall on, one thing is clear. We are still all in this struggle for the future together. That's why I'm so impressed by the young people who are participating in this event. Most young Americans and young immigrants to our country are more comfortable with diversity than any generation before. And it's more important than ever before that our nation's young people understand their role in building a world where we can recognize and celebrate our diversity because we remember that our common humanity matters more. We need to build a world of shared responsibilities and shared opportunities. A world where there is a sense of community, where we actually can learn from each other, learn from our disagreements, and reach principled compromises. So thanks to all of you for participating today and for your commitment to being part of the solution to a very big challenge.
The purpose of our conversation tonight is to find solutions to create a more respectful tone in political discussions. Debate in America is too often filled with anger and hatred. So the bottom line is this: how can this generation change that? Without respect and compromise, our country cannot move forward. We cannot solve the problems we face.
That I think it's very important that the people that are discussing these issues also make an effort to listen.
Just to keep an open mind. You know, take a deep breath and recognize there might be something in another point of view.
And really also be prepared. You know, be prepared. What are the issues? What are the true facts?
I think it was Barry Goldwater that coined the phrase, it's okay for us to disagree without being disagreeable. And that's really, bottom line, what we're trying to encourage.
Be patient and understanding, and, you know, to also, you know, understand that, you know, we all aren't right 100% of the time, and that there are, you know, shades of gray in all these areas in discussion.
I am optimistic. I'm hoping that this next generation has the ability to engage in what you talk about, civil discourse, to resolve problems.
So you live your life, I guess, if not in service of others, at least you're aware that you can help others. And Christina was. I mean, she was only 9, but again, I look around at the impact that she's had, and I'm truly amazed.
To disagree agreeably, this is a theme that's very
Yes.
near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
How are you committed to making sure that that happens?
Well, I was privileged to be an appellate court judge, a justice on the Supreme Court, where we made our arguments in writing, not orally. And so you could make up your mind ahead of time. You were going to spell out your arguments, and there was no need at all in writing to become angry. And that is easier. If you're dealing orally with people and there's limited time, I think that's more of a crucible for difficulty. But certainly in the written form, there's no need for it at all.
Well, all of the students here tonight have made a commitment to ending negativity in politics, and we're going to hear from each of them. Let's start with Caroline. Yours is to use social media, right?
Yep. I decided to kind of tap into that resource of the fact that we're all so well connected already. And I'd really like to go forward and create the website that I dreamed of in my essay, and create a place where students can go to educate themselves about issues so they can make informed decisions and a source of information that's separate from a lot of disrespect, and also just presenting a united front against angry politics, and so we can come together and do this together.
Tony, how would you solve this problem?
Well, my commitment to end negativity is first and foremost a commitment to knowledge and to introspection, because we have so much knowledge available to us that we just need to absorb all that knowledge so we will be more tolerant when we encounter some of the same opinions later on. And with regards to introspection, our generation and politicians, even in today's generation, need to focus more on their own weaknesses, not publicly, but then strengthen those weaknesses.
I think we can all promise to agree to disagree and to remember that everyone believes what they do for a reason and their experiences, and there's no reason that we should disrespect that.
Rikia, how would you be part of the solution?
I feel the best way to do it is to lead by example. And if people aren't noticing it, then I would gladly like to tell them, don't disagree with the person, but disagree with their statement. Not be so angry at them, just disagree with their statement, not the person.
Yeah, don't make it so personal.
Yeah.
Right. Thor?
I believe that Rikia really has a point there, that it's not only about spreading it everywhere you can, but it's also about where you are. Like in our daily conversations and debates just around our daily lives, I think it's important to help others understand how important it is to be civil in our discourse.
All right, very good. Matthew, how would you be part of the solution?
As an Eagle Scout and as a member of the Boy Scouts of America, I have been in many leadership opportunities where I have learned that listening to each other's ideas is the only way that a team can be successful.
All right, thank you, Matthew. Becky, what's your commitment?
My commitment would be spreading a message of tolerance, and also, kind of based on what everybody else has said, definitely implementing facts into what you're saying, because that ultimately is what matters, and that's what would lead to a compromise. So instead of trying to be right all the time, and instead of forcing yourself to join some crazy extremity of a party, whether you're like a Democrat or a Republican, recognize that the point of being a politician is reaching a compromise and not arguing. That's not what politics is about.
Peyton?
As you mentioned, a lot of us are becoming upcoming voters for this year, and personally, I plan on being knowledgeable of all the politicians out there and knowing who closely relates to my political beliefs, and also who relates to my moral and my ethical beliefs, because I don't just want someone who stands for what I believe in, but I want someone who I can look at and feel like they truly represent the person that I want America to be seen as.
Okay. Mira?
As an upcoming voter and hopefully a future politician, I think the most important thing is to be open-minded. If an opponent has a notable point, I should take that into consideration. And before I advocate an issue or a solution to an issue, I should be educated about the other options out there. I think that both parties need to engage in principled compromise, and they both have their own ideas that are really important to the core of their parties. But if they realize that they have to come to a medium for the betterment of the entire country, and that's what's going to make America a better place.
Kelly, what's your solution?
What I'm focused on is making sure that people know that listening is a big part of civil discourse.
All right, Becky, what's your solution?
I'd like to take a lot of these ideas right back into my own high school. I think students are notorious for being extreme in their political views, and if I can act as a mediator and show my peers that compromise is truly what benefits the greatest number of people, then I think they'll be inspired to carry that philosophy forward in their lives and become great political figures and voters.
So you want to be an example?
Yes, definitely.
Good. Cecina?
I think that the main problem is for the voters to understand that this is not acceptable, because yes, it's the politicians who are the ones being bitter, but we're the ones fueling that by voting for them. So it's important to understand the issues. It's easy to go out into the media and read which candidate slandered the other candidate most recently, but it's important to do some behind-the-scenes research and go for the things that aren't as obvious, like which candidate actually has ideas that you connect with and morals that you believe in.
Well, if our country is in the hands of people like this, I think we're in pretty good shape, don't you think?
I
so,
think
Justice?
we are too. I'm very encouraged. How about you? Congratulations to each one of you for offering some very sound ideas and for being very articulate. You did well.
Well, thank you all for being part of the solution. You may be young, but you're all thoughtful, you're all intelligent, and you're very
great.
passionate about making our country a better place. That gives all of us hope for the future. Your generation is our future. Your ideas, your promises, and your commitments, they have all inspired us tonight, and we hope this conversation that we started is going to lead us to change and is going to lead us to a solution so that politics and debate are much more civil. And Justice O'Connor, it has been an honor to have you tonight. We appreciate the gift of your time and of your wisdom.
It's been a delight to be here and to be with these students. They're wonderful.
We want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. Have a great evening, everyone.
People ask how we do it. I don't know. I guess our faith has really helped us along. That we know she's in heaven. She knows. We know that she's not going to be forgotten. We know these projects are really going to help kids going forward, and that people will remember who Christina Taylor Green is.
If you would like to donate to the Christina Taylor Green Foundation, the mailing address is P.O. Box 65000, Tucson, Arizona 85728, or you can log on to ChristinaTaylorGreen.org.